Today we are jumping into chapter 39, and we see now that Joseph has been sold to Potiphar and is living in Potiphar's house. And what does it say Potiphar is? He is the chief officer or the captain of the guard, of the royal guard in Egypt, right? So he's a pretty powerful man. And we see in verse 2, it says, "But the Lord was with Joseph, and he, though a slave, was a successful and prosperous man. He was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and the Lord made all that he did to flourish and succeed in his hand." Now, I think it's interesting that here we see that even as a slave, God prepared Joseph, like in the middle of it, he's still allowing favor. He's giving him favor. It doesn't matter where God puts us or what we go through. If we have faithfully follow him, he will give us what we need at the time. Joseph was given all. I think it's interesting that this word all is used 7 times in this chapter to describe what is given to Joseph to take care of in the different situations. We'll see it again at the end. But he's given all. And I think it's interesting because man will try to shut doors to things that God wants. God knew what he was going to do in Joseph's life. He had given him a dream early on in his life to show him, but he wasn't there right now. Yet, Joseph was given all. He had God's favor. So in other words, man can try to shut doors, but God is not moved by the doors that men try to shut. He can open any door. He can make anything happen. And so we see that Joseph has this favor with the Lord, but it's because he follows God, and we'll see that in just a moment. So we see he's put in charge of everything at Potiphar's house, but soon Potiphar's wife moves in and she tries to seduce Joseph, right? And so we catch up there. It says he refused, verse 8, he refused and said to his master's wife, "See here with me in the house. My master has concern about nothing. He has put all," there's that word all again, "that he has in my care. He's not greater in this house than I am." So in other words, he's even given me, we're co-workers. He's not my boss. He's my co-worker according to the way he's set it up. "But the only thing he's kept from me is you, for you are his wife. How then," here's the key verse, "how then can I do this great evil and sin against Potiphar?" No, it says sin against God. The reason that Joseph could resist such temptation, because this was a great temptation, he probably could have gotten away with it at least for a while, if not forever. It says Potiphar didn't pay attention to anything except for the food he ate. It said that in another verse. He says he had no care of anything except for what he ate. So he must be a foodie. But we see that he hadn't worried about anything. He probably could have got away from it. And he didn't even say, "I don't want to sin against Potiphar." He said, I don't want to sin against my God. In other words, Joseph had a relationship with God, so much so that he knew this was sin. He knew he couldn't do those things. And so his relationship with God saved him from bad choices. And it can be the same for us. There's so many times where temptation comes in where we might not get caught, but we would be sinning against God. And because of our relationship, it keeps us from really ill situations. And so we see that he has a relationship with God. And of course, this angers her. It wasn't love, it was lust, because if it was love, then she probably would have kept working on him. But instead, she turned angry because he rejected her. And so she went and made a lie saying that he tried to rape her. And that wasn't true. And of course, Potiphar was angry, and so he threw him into prison. And so we see that at the end of the chapter, he's thrown into prison. But let's check out verse 22 and 23 to see that favor we were talking about in any situation. When God tells you to do something, he will give you favor. It says, "And the warden of the prison committed to Joseph's care," what? All, there's that word all again, "the prisoners who were in the prison, and whatsoever," in other words, all, "was done there, he was in charge of it. The prison warden paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge, for the Lord was with him and made whatever he did prosper." So again, we see Joseph has favor because God is with him, because he has this relationship with God. He said, "I'm not going to sin against God. God's the one giving me this favor. God's the one taking care of me. Why would I sin against him?" He goes to prison for that. But still, in prison, God's taking care of him. And I think we can apply that to our own lives. Maybe not everything's going right, or maybe we're not in the positions we want to be in, or the positions we think God wants us to be in yet. Maybe with work or with family or spouses or children. You may not be in that place you want to be, but God wants to give you favor and teach you things right where you're at. Joseph is in these trials right now because he's learning something. He's learning he has to be humble with this calling, but that God will use you when you are faithful. And so we leave that chapter here. Joseph's in prison. We'll come back next time to find out more.